thrilling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version.
The fierce spirit of Sary Arka. The road leads to the White Mausoleum. You have to walk along this road in order to understand how its music was created together with the legend about a fierce musician and an indomitable spirit of Sary Arka. The sunset was beautiful. The fiery burning sun was going down, shooting thousands of golden arrows into the steppe. It seemed to Kurmash that the rays were ringing and lovely sounds of a quiet song were traveling in the steppe. Researchers say that Kurmangazy's creative work is autobiographical. Although he did not study the rudiments of music, his life seems to be written in musical notes. He wrote about his life. Specialists argue, look for the facts and compare where, how, and in whose honor the steppe plays were written. Plucking the strings of centuries, Balbaruin, Laushken, Perovsky March were played, the chords of the secrets and selected works. These people, such as Kurmangazy, had great fame and authority spread among all of the people. If he had received a European education, he would have been equal to the world's famous musicians of that time. We say that Kurmangazy was like Mozart. Sometimes we consider him as the Steppe Beethoven. Chapter 1. How music was created. It is the place where the notes of his life are carefully preserved and studied. Golden Bank, Altan Jar, is where Kurmangazy's museum is situated. This is the Dombra. Although it is not the legendary one which improvising poet and singer Uzak Akin gave to him as a present, certainly Kurmangazy touched this one producing magical sounds. People believe that he could teach any instrument. He made the Dombra when he was young, which produced such clean and powerful sounds that famous musicians were amazed. Some people said that Sagarbaya's great-grandfather had been a famous musician and Kurmash inherited his holy ancestor's spirit. The others claim that Kurmash's Dombra could be as magical as Farabi's two-string Dombra. Probably Kurmash was the direct descendant of Makhambet al-Farabi, the great Kipchak musician who had made the first Dombra. He had lived on the bank of the Sirdarya River for many centuries. They sent 6-year-old Kurmash to work as a shepherd. He spent 12 years pasteurizing sheep. According to the legend, he was not a good worker as he was engrossed in his music. However, as soon as he took the musical instrument, he was immediately forgiven. People came from distant villages to listen to the young Dombra player. When Kurmangazy was 18, he left his father's home. After that, the musician's life became more mysterious than his works. He never parted with his Dombra. People described him as a person of medium height. He had a wide forehead and an honest face. He was always with his Dombra. He loved horses and racing too.
Он менял лошадей, очень любил лошадей, скачки.
Even when I'm listening to Balbraun, I hear galloping, feel the strength of the wind. It gets nearer and nearer and then suddenly disappears. There is interweaving of rhythms and chords and the twisting of truth and legends. Chapter 2. Portrait in Music. Some researchers are confident that legendary Balbraun translates as honey infusion. Others doubt it and suppose that it means graceful. The Kazakh instrumental play is most probably dedicated to youth entertainment racing. However, here in Kurmangazy's museum, the other version is supported. He attended Brown's ball. Astrakhan, it is said that the city's head, Brown, held a ball in honor of his wife and invited Kurmangazy. The composer prepared a musical present. However, it is difficult to say if it was true. That mayor was really mentioned in the history of Astrakhan, but there is little information about him. Only legends have it that he met Kurmangazy. At the same time, Uralsk researchers conducted their own musical research. He played the famous Balbrawin's Kuy either at the wedding or birthday party of Borodin's daughter. It meant Borodin's ball. Perhaps this is the most famous house in Uralsk. Pushkin and Dahl and a lot of the most famous people in the world of music and literature stayed here. This house belongs to Borodin, who was the last ataman of the Uralsk Cossacks. However, it is not clear if Kurmangazy played his dombra here. Ataman Borodin died in 1830. According to his pupil, Dina Nurpisova, the composer was born in 1818 and could hardly attend receptions because of his young age. There was another Borodin, but he had no connection with this mansion. Writer and local historian Nikita Savichev reported, "At Borodin's farm, I wanted to see my relatives and meet the famous Uralsk farmer, Ayov Borodin. I was pleased when he introduced me to Kurmangazy Sagarbayev, who was famous in the whole Bukiev horde." During the late autumn evening, Kurmangazy appeared in front of Savichev, who asked him to play something for him. When he played and sang some Kuy, Savichev was surprised and even told his companions that he had not expected the uneducated Kyrgyz playing a scoop-like instrument to perform such music. He stayed at that village for 2 or 3 other days. He took interviews and talked to him openly. Afterwards, they really became friends and he started visiting him often. Moreover, Nikita Savichev drew a portrait of the talented composer. It is the only portrait of Kurmangazy drawn during his lifetime. However, it is unknown where the sensational drawing is and whether it has been preserved. Savichev's archives were restored partly to a lot of information remained only in newspaper pages. He wrote articles about Kurmangazy during his lifetime. In the 88th edition of the St. Petersburg newspaper published in 1868, Nikita Savichev wrote that Kurmangazy had a rare musical soul. If he had received a European education, he would have become a big star recognized in the whole world.
Это слова человека, который лично видел, общался лично с Kurmangazy.
Thanks to Savichev, people living far away from Uralsk found out about Kurmangazy's talent. When I offered Sagarbayev to go to Uralsk to give a public concert there, he waved his hands refusing to accept this offer and said he would not play in Uralsk because he was afraid that they would make him stay there forever. However, when Borodin translated it, it would not happen and the concert would bring him not only fame, but also money. The musician smiled. He brought him to Uralsk and organized a few concerts in the city. Only then, the Russian population and the Kazakh upper class found out about the great composer and musician. Chapter 3: The Strings of Freedom. Borodin, who introduced his friend Kurmangazy to Savichev, was fluent in Kazakh and could play the dombra. There is a good reason why researchers connect another composition with his name. The point is that the local residents called Iova Laushka. It is a changed variant of pet named Ivushka. It is said that the famous Laushken was dedicated to the friend. The well-to-do person cared about the Kazakhs who worked at that farm. He gave them flour free of charge and provided them with sponsor support, as we call it today. According to different data, this kui was composed after soldier Lavushkin helped the musician escape from prison. But why was he imprisoned? He protected ordinary people. After he stood up for some families or said something to a rich man, only a few documents say that he was imprisoned many times. He was put in Orenburg and Uralsk prisons. There is information that the rebellious composer was even sent to Irkutsk. The history of that period is recorded in chords, including heroic Kishkentai and Adai. Biographically accurate, I'll leave tomorrow and escape from prison. During all his life, Kurmangazy's creative works advocated Taimanov's ideas. It was the reason why he was exiled. His biography was full of rebellions and he had access to various circles because he possessed extraordinary talent. Again, we encounter secrets and different versions. This is a project of famous artist Brilov's elder brother. The beautiful building with antique motifs was the house of a noble assembly, which was the heart of cultural life in the steppe area. There were a lot of balls held here while Perovsky was Governor General. A person not living in Orenburg could compare this ball with a carnival. There were hussars and soldiers and civilians. An Eastern merchant came there wearing national clothes. That's what Orenburg looked like at the time. It was the place where Kurmangazy made a splash. They say that the Governor General heard the music played by the prisoner held in Orenburg. After that, the rebellious composer was released and invited to play for the future Emperor Alexander II. It could only happen in the summer of 1837. There is a version according to which Alexander travelled across Kazakhstan. Kurmangazy was invited to one of the such meetings. He listened to them in admiration. He was astonished to hear his dombra music. Only the legends have it that the composer and the crown prince met. As for Kurmangazy's acquaintance with the Perovsky and the composer himself, or the music to be exact, attested to this fact. When exactly did it happen? It could be either between 1833 to 1842, or in the period between 1851 and 1857. Who else could Perovsky March be dedicated to? The Light Barvuva melody is a gratitude expressed by the ex-prisoner. Epilogue: lifelong music. Starting from the 1930s, musicologists discovered that recorded over 50 works, including Laushken, Balbaren, and Perovsky March. Even Kui is a little page of Kurmangazy's biography. Only later will we be able to hear the lot of his works in a new way. Call his music a free song of lark or a nightingale, but this comparison is too poor. Nikita Savichev wrote, Kurmangazy lived a long life until he was 76. He was born on the Caspian beach. He was from the Adai Kızıl Kurt clan.
На берегу Каспия. Так, он из рода Аддай, Кызыл Курт.
His life was difficult, but it also was rich and bright. He lived his life fiercely. He left us the great and memorable gift which we hand down from generation to generation. You take one more step and it seems that history itself starts playing music. It drifts along the street, pacifying iron horses with its grandeur. The tall horseman, who is like Sary Arka itself, will soar from the pedestal into the infinite embrace. Kurmangazy is the fierce spirit of the great steppe.